Okay guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing something that's, at least to me, a little scary, and that's installing the Recon cab lights to the top of the truck. Just to give you an idea from the picture here what it's going to look like when it's done. This is a previous gen Silverado, but you guys get the idea. Lights come in a kit. You get all three pieces, as well as some assorted screws and mounting clips. And for a whopping $50 you can get an additional wiring harness, which is probably not worth the 50 bucks, but it has quick connect clips on it. This is the ground part that will connect to clips that come with the lights themselves. You can always nip these off and put your own wiring harness in there, but we're going to try it with the kit and see how it goes. A couple of preparation things you want to do before you get started. Obviously remove some of the packaging. Now in my particular kit I have the wiring harness attached, and I'm just going to plug that in to give this a test to make sure that everything lights up by simply using a 9-volt battery here. This harness comes with a lead here for the ground, which is this side here, and a lead for positive, and looks like we can see that I get light. Let's see if I can turn that around and give you guys a better shot. There we go. So do that with all three of these. Make sure that they all work. And then the second thing we want to do is, this particular kit is universal. It's got a big black kind of housing that's right here where the wiring comes out, and I don't particularly want to drill a hole that's this big. So what you're going to do is very carefully remove that housing, and I have it here on a different one, and basically it is come off with a pair of pliers, and then you could take a file. In my case I took a little Dremel tool and just kind of cleaned up around here, just so that the hole is much smaller. If you're not going to use a wiring harness, this will be the time where you nip off this quick connect clip and put your leaves on here. Then your hole only needs to be as big as these wires. In this case, there's a little quick connect here that I'm going to pull out. There's just a couple little tabs on either side here. So at least my hole needs to be as big as this gray piece here, so I don't need anything really big. So as I continue with the prep process, I've been talking about this wiring harness that came with the kit, and I've discovered that this is probably not the thing to get. It's recommended on the websites. The idea of a quick connect, is really a good idea. The problem is that you have to make a hole big enough in the top of your truck for this to go through. I originally thought that this little gray piece would come out and I could pull this black piece off and run the wires through and reconnect it on the other side of the hole. And that'd be a really good idea if that worked, but that's really not the case. So since we have to butcher this anyway, or butcher this, I'm going to say don't buy this at this point. Save the $50. You can go and get about $20 worth of automotive wiring, and some of these butt connectors here. you know, for under 20 bucks. You have to get a blade fuse holder or some sort of inline fuse holder to make the circuit work anyway, so it's just not worth getting. So all we're going to do at this point, and I've done this to the other pieces, is basically nip that off. We don't need it anymore. And this is 18 gauge wire, so we're just going to strip a couple of ends here on the 18 bracket here. It's okay to give yourselves a little bit of a lead there. And if you haven't worked with butt connectors before, they're really easy. There's nothing to them. Basically, it's you got two wires, and I've got red and black here somewhere. Here's my black to go with the red and black leads there on here, so we're going to make these leads a little bit longer. So you got a red wire here. There's a butt connector that's going to go here onto that red wire. You're going to take a tool, your vise, you're going to crimp that, and then you're going to take your red wire here once it's been spliced and basically do the same thing, and again crimp it, and then you have a nice connection. To give power to the lights, we're going to use a fuse tap or an added fuse line. This Silverado uses ATR fuses. As you can see, they're small and they have narrow blades between them. This particular unit is used in a fuse box, and basically you remove a fuse wherever you want to put the line in and put this in its place. Now this comes with two fuses. One represents the line that you took out, and the other represents the new line we're putting in. And basically it just pops in just like that. Push it in firm, give it a test. You can take this line and you can kind of hide it and tuck it wherever you want so it looks nice and clean. So we'll probably run it up through here and then up through the A-pillar as we get to the install. You could certainly go a step further and wire it into the, actually it's this one here. This is just a quick connect. This harness operates all of the light controls, so you could certainly tap into that with a relay. You could also run an extension from your circuit to somewhere else here in the dash bezel, you know, wherever you like, and run a you know, some kind of rocker switch or whatever you like, wherever you like to find room in this. So that's certainly an option as well. But this particular spot, and I believe this is spot 31, which is a accessory, and it's a crank on position. So that means that this line is only active when the key is in the on position. So what that'll do is when the key is in either the accessory or run position, the lights will just come on automatically. There's no switches to flip. There's no extra things to do. They just come on, and that's I think where I want to do this, and that's probably as far as I'll take it. You know, some point down the road, again, we can always add a switch or do something different with the switches and the bezel here. So before we start drilling holes in the top of the truck, we've got to remove this liner, and there's just some caps here that you got to pull off here and on the other side there. And this is basically just a Torx bit, T15, and you just loosen these up and you can start get this stuff out of the way so that this will come down. Okay, so the centerpiece really comes off in a couple pieces, and I had to do it off camera just to kind of figure out what it was. But there's this plate here that you can just take a small flathead and you can kind of work this out. And then from there, there's a couple of screw holes, one there and one right in there. I know it's a little tough to see, that tie to this bracket up here. Those are a T10 bracket, or I'm sorry, driver, where the other ones here and here were a T15. So you'll need a couple different sizes. It's up to you if you want to let this hang or you want to unplug it. It's up to you guys. Probably not a bad idea to unplug it. I'm just going to leave it hang here for a sec so I can show you guys what I did. But once you get all this exposed, I still got to do the other side there. We can start working on the top of the truck. Once you get the other side done, these are just quick disconnects for the visor if you have lit mirrors on them. And you get this done and you get the other side done here. Again, these are T15s. Your headliner will have a lot of room. You can get in careful not to pull on this too hard because you'll, this is not real rigid stuff, so you can definitely crease and bend this. But you're able to get in here and run your wires, and then if you want to take the A-pillars down at this time, you can. All you got to do is just start to remove the weather seal, and then when you get these, just pull them. I'll show on the other side. You just pull them out this way. Don't pull them towards you because you can snap the brackets that hold these in place, and then do be careful because there are airbags that are in here. And again, we're on the other side here. This weather seal just comes off with your fingernails, and again, you just pull that way, and then here's the airbag, that white that you see in there. So be careful with this. You don't need to pull it all the way off. You just got to get it so you can get to the liner and be able to run your wire down here to the fuse box. So once you get to the top of the truck, the easiest thing to do is probably lay out some of this painter's masking tape because it's easy on, it's easy off, doesn't do anything to the paint. And I'm starting on the passenger side. All the directions say to actually start with the middle. That piece of tape there denotes where the sun of the truck is. It's lined up with the rear view mirror. But going back to here, on this particular truck, they want this corner to be 4 inches and a quarter and 4 inches of an eighth from the edge of the windshield here and this black piece here. So all I've done is gotten the trusty square and did that measurement, measured it a couple times from both sides, and determined where that particular spot's at, and that's where this corner is going to go. Now what I've seen a lot of guys do in the instructions, in the sake of keeping everything lined up, is to drill these holes out first so that you have your pieces kind of lined up where they're supposed to be, and then try to triangulate where the hole for the wires are going to be. And what I've done is the opposite. I'd rather drill this hole first because you got one chance of doing this, and sinking this in, and as you can see, it's right there on the mark. And then if I have to go this way a little bit, this way a little bit, I have room to drill these smaller holes and sink the piece itself in and securing it, again, versus trying to sink this in and then figure out where this hole's got to be. And if I'm off a quarter of an inch here, then I've got a much bigger hole here, or a bigger problem that I want, versus if I'm off this way or this way by let's say a 1/16 of an inch versus the one on the other end, no one's going to be able to tell. So long as it's not one over there is this way and one over there is all the way over here, I mean, obviously you don't want that. But this is the approach that I'm doing. The other reason why this hole, this is a 3/8 inch hole. It's probably a little too big. The reason why it's big is there's a grommet here on the bottom of this unit, and that's really a good thing. I didn't take that off, I left it on, so when this is in here, there's actually a piece of plastic that separates the wires from the metal of the roof of the truck, preventing accidental shorts and stuff like that. So this hole in the middle is going to be a little bigger than these here on the top, securing the unit itself. So what we have now is holes drilled for all 3 pieces, and just to get an idea what that is, it's just a 3/8 inch hole. I fill that grommet that's right there, and I'll have a little bit of cleaning up to do. And that just sits in there, and the wires have run down into the headliner, into the center of the truck, which is where we're going to go next. So what we have here on the inside of the truck looks like a little bit of a mess, but really there's 4 sets of wires. We've got a set here, which is the center piece of the marker light. You have a set here, which is the passenger side marker light. So there's 2 sets on this side. And over here we also have 2 sets. We have one set here, that's the driver's side marker light, and then one set which is basically going to be a bus. That's going to tie all 3 of these up through the pillar, liner, and then down the pillar down to the fuse box. And all I'm going to use to connect these is these little quick connects. They're often referred to as scotch locks or suitcase connectors because they close like a suitcase, if I can do it one handed here on the camera, once you get the wires in there. But the process is simple. One wire runs through and one wire runs on a spliced end through here. This little metal piece comes down, hits both wires, and then basically you've connected one wire to where another wire already exists. I'll show you that in a second. So here's basically how this is going to work. You're going to take your wire and you're going to strip it twice as long, at least in this case. You don't necessarily have to, but I think it holds better when you do this, and I'll show you why. And this is a red. I'm going to find my red wire where I'm going to put my quick connect on. Just give myself a little bit of room here. And this has a pass-through part, which is right here in front. Just like that. And then you're going to take your other piece here, we're just going to bend that in half so it's nice and thick and it has a lot of material to grab, and that's just going to kind of get shoved right into there so it looks something like this. And then you're just going to take whatever you're using for a crimping tool, and I have a pair of channel locks here as soon as I get them ready, and I'm just going to push down, make sure this wire's in all the way until that pin right there is all the way down, and then you just close these up. Get the other one here in the black one all situated. That closed down, and again just close them up so they're nice and tight. They're done. Now all the wires, passenger side, center, driver side, all into the bus, and then we're going to go and plug that circuit into the fuse box. So I showed this piece just a moment ago. This is the add a fuse or tap, and all I've done is I've taken the red wire that's come down the A-pillar that I showed a moment ago coming from the center there, and the black wire, which is also here, but talking about the red wire first, and I've just crimped that into the butt connector that was provided and just kind of tucked it up in here, and I'll clean it up just a little bit more. And the same with the black wire, got a ring connector and is grounded there to that bolt. There's another one below if you'd like to use that one as well, but right in here. And basically that should be it for the test. So here's a test. This circuit is, like I mentioned before, a key on only, so I'm basically going to and I have lights. Turning the motor off, and the lights will come off. So I think the test is successful. Things to do next is to take all the wires I was just showing and kind of tidy those up nice, and finish drilling in the placement holes for the lights Again, just only the holes drilled for the wires to be ran are in there right now, so we'll get those lined up and drilled in and we should be ready to go. Okay guys, when screwing these in, you really can do them any way you want. Now I know the idea is to keep them as straight in line with the rest of them as you can. You don't obviously want one, like this, or one like that. You want to keep them straight. But if you have something that's like this, or if you want something that's kicked out a little bit, or even something that's a little forward and back, you're free to do that. So what I've got is a square, and I've done this with the center one already. It worked out pretty well. And again, all I have is just the center hole for the wires drilled, so I can pivot this however I like. And I'm using the edge of the windshield to be my guide. And looks like I'm right about 4 and 4. Turn that a little bit. Okay, so I've determined that this is about square, and I'm just taking that's not it, wrong tool, a punch, something like this, and I'm just making my mark here on the tape. I'm going to kind of gouge the tape a little bit so I can really have a good indication of what I want when I pull this away to drill the holes. And just making sure again I've got that hole seated, so when I pull this away I'm just going to do a quick double measurement, make sure that I didn't screw nothing up here. 4. When I pull this away, I've got a good mark. Hopefully the camera can pick this up here, and the mark on this side didn't show so well, so I'll come back and do that again. Always better to measure a couple times, make sure that we have it. The instructions say to use a 1/8 inch drill bit. This is actually one size smaller. And it doesn't take much. Now, because I had a little bit of a difficult time getting that hole, all I'm going to do is just for a moment take the screws that come with the kit and just start that thread just so it stays in place. And I'm going to make that hole again. Take that out, make sure that's not going anywhere. Okay, I got a good hole right here. Just gonna make sure it doesn't walk on you. If you're having trouble with it walking, drill a pilot hole first. The punch kind of does that for you. And there we go. Now the next thing to do is remove this tape that we used to give us an idea where we needed to go and do our measurements. It served its purpose. Take a towel, just get this all cleaned up, all the shavings and all the gook that's accumulated here. It rained on me partly doing this, which was unfortunate, so that's part of living in Chicago. They call it the Windy City, and the city that gets 4 seasons in one day for a reason. So it was sunny and Oh look, there's a rain cloud, and then it poured for an hour. It wasn't even forecasted, so. Okay, get that all cleaned up. Should look something like that, right? And then take some silicone. This is just some DAP. You don't need to go crazy with this. And you can certainly get something that matches the color of your truck if you think that's something you want to do. Fortunately, I got white, so white silicone works. Enough to cover the holes, but not, you know, ooze out as you lay this. You know, make black if you want to use black. To match the housing of the light. Stuff off there. And take your screws, line things up. If you make a mistake, well, you may have to live with it. And I'm just going to hand tighten these in. There's no need to use a power drill. They go in pretty easy. Don't over tighten to get it snug, because you don't want to break the plastic too. Whatever this is, sheet metal or aluminum, whatever this is, you know, it will only take so much of a thread. And there you have it. One side done. And of course, tidy up your wires here in the fuse box. And get your fuse box panel back on.